Before I start this video, I just want to make this statement very clear. I do not in any way support violence to handle non-violent matters. With that said, let's get into the video. Currently, many people in their videos have brought up both of these individuals. Charlie Kirk, who, as you should know by now, has been assassinated this month, and Brian Thompson, the UnitedHealthcare CEO who was murdered last year. And if I'm being honest with myself, I noticed that I had completely different views for each individual's unexpected end. One I felt was an absolute tragedy and should have never happened. And the other, well, let's just say I'm not surprised that it happened. Let me explain myself more. My base of thought is the effect that these individuals had on people and how they go about putting their ideas and influence on the world. Charlie Kirk was, from my perspective, just spreading his thoughts and ideas about modern society. Just like what I'm doing right now in this video. That was his effect on the world. And if you believe that his thoughts were wrong or reprehensible or even led to unfortunate things that happened in the world, you could have, when he was alive, gone right up to him and expressed your beliefs right in front of him, as many people did. It is the same thing that I would encourage for this video too. If you believe that my commentary and thoughts are wrong, respectfully leave your comments below. Back to Charlie Kirk. He actively encouraged people who disagreed with him to come forward.
When you stop having a human connection with someone you disagree with, it becomes a lot easier to want to commit violence against that group. What we as a culture have to get back to is being able to have reasonable disagreement where violence is not an option.
One would say this is the best way to put an argument on an equal playing field. A man-to-man conversation in person is much better than having echo chambers online. Your ideas against his. Now, when it comes to the healthcare CEO, Brian Thompson, I believe his effect on the world is completely different. The difference in opinion is health insurance isn't something you can just avoid or put out of your life. If you live in the United States, you have to have it. Unless you want to pay an absolutely ridiculous ass bill whenever you have to deal with anything health related, health insurance is something you have to deal with, especially if you're in the United States. God forbid, but you and everyone you know is going to have to deal with health issues at some certain point in your life. Compared to Charlie Kirk, you don't have to interact or listen to the guy. You could have said his ideas and his opinions have a high influence on people and their actions, but you still don't have to interact with those ideas or the people who support them. That is the distinction that I'm making between these two individuals. One has direct influence and was a part of a corrupt system that has power over people's lives, whether you want to or not, and the other one is completely optional. So when the whole healthcare Luigi situation went down, you did not see a huge outpouring of sadness compared to what happened to Charlie Kirk, where people were holding memorials and moments of silence for his passing. Now, I'm not claiming to be the all-knowing crystal ball YouTuber here who understands how to solve the problems in healthcare, but at least from my perspective, in no way, shape, or form should health insurance be a for-profit business model. Apparently, I heard that investors for UnitedHealthcare Group sued the company because they were approving too many claims and not making enough to report on their earnings call.
Investors are suing UnitedHealth Group for approving too much medical care. The lawsuit alleges that the insurance giant was no longer willing to use the aggressive anti-consumer tactics that it would need to achieve its earnings goals.
Like seriously, what the fuck is this? Why are investors allowed to have influence over health insurance? That is some of the most evil shit I have ever heard. Oh no, our earnings call is down and my investments aren't doing well because an insurance company started doing their job by improving insurance claims? Some people are making the claim that what Luigi did actually saved lives because the company started to do what they were supposed to do, and they only did it just because they wanted to push off the bad press. And I know this sounds childish, but I think if people pay into a system of health insurance, they shouldn't have to be fighting to get their claims not denied because, oh, well, sir, you didn't meet the qualifications for Rule 146 on page 897 of our terms of service that no one reads because it's in lawyer speak and corporate jargon, and It's absolutely ridiculous to request someone to read such a long terms of service in the first place. No one does it. I believe that health insurance companies like UnitedHealthcare indirectly lead to the death of individuals basically due to paperwork and bureaucracy. It's technically the cleanest way to unalive people. So sorry if I believe that health insurance companies are literally the work of the devil. Because of claims being denied, people either put off life-saving medical procedures or they just don't do the medical procedures because of the financial burden it might put on them or their family. If you or a family member is diagnosed with an aggressive form of cancer, you shouldn't have to be worrying about whether insurance companies will be covering it. All you should be thinking about is scheduling to get the treatment done. So I cannot in good conscience put Charlie Kirk and Brian Thompson in the same boat of Sympathy. One had ideas you could interact with or completely ignore. As for the other, pertaining to health insurance, like I said, if you're in the United States, it's not something you can just avoid. Sure, you can choose another provider, but it's hard to have sympathy for these people who actively build up these awful for-profit health companies. Health insurance should be a simple system. Everyone pays into a pool of money, and when a health emergency happens for you or someone you know, money is taken out of that pool to help pay for their treatment. The people who organize the money should not be making a huge profit off of that system by trying their best to find ways to deny your claims. And for what I found out, Brian Thompson was making reportedly around $10 million a year being the CEO of a health insurance company that is absolutely leading the pack in denied health insurance claims. Now, let me be clear. I am not saying that I actively support what happened to Brian Thompson. Murder should not be the answer. I just believe that these health insurance companies commit horrible crimes against humanity and should be dismantled completely. And some of the people who make huge advancements in finding ways to deny claims should probably face long prison sentences. But murder in the street is not the way I want us to solve problems. It's just more of, if I'm being honest with myself, and this isn't a joking matter, this is me being serious about my feelings on the topic, I don't feel very saddened by what has happened to him. Sure, the man had a wife and kids who cared about him, but Brian Thompson played in the devil's workshop of health insurance. He wasn't some low-level employee just answering a phone. He was the CEO. He had power to do things. So even though I don't support what happened to him, it did not surprise me when somebody like Luigi decided to do what he did. If you work in a system that people have to interact with and support that system that brings suffering and death to others, it's hard for me to have sympathy for you. As for Charlie, I am still greatly saddened by what has happened to him because he's doing exactly what I'm doing right now, talking and explaining a viewpoint. I didn't agree with everything he said, but no one should ever be harmed or killed for expressing their viewpoints on life. And this expands to anyone I vehemently disagree with. For example, I am not a fan of Hassan or Nick Fluentes, but I would never wish harm upon them. If you want to defeat someone's ideas, defeat them with your own words, not violence. Hopefully, I've explained myself clearly in this video, and if you have comments and thoughts, respectfully leave them down below. More of a serious topic in this video, but I feel that I should express my viewpoint on this subject. Thank you for watching, and cheers. Now, when it comes to the healthcare fucking shit, these mosquitoes.